silver to the moon, make silver stackers gold. Go! The price goes up, the price goes up. 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. Yeah. The price goes up, the price goes up. 150, 200, 300, 400, 500. 1,000, now we're rich. Got bars in a vault, got bags in a drawer. I was mourning every loss, now I'm counting every score. Banks rigged the game with paper options and lies. Kept silver chain low while debt climbed high. Fake shorts, naked bets, come ecstasy of theft. But the mask ripped off now, real discoveries left. Silver to the moon, make silver stackers go. The price goes up, the price goes up. 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. Yeah. The price goes up, the price goes up. 150, 200, 300, 400, 500. 1,000, now we're rich.
Hey everybody, with gold hitting $5,500 plus just recently, last day here. Silver 110 or 120, I can't even keep track. I think it's the US Mint has it listed at $173. I think it's trading in China or Japan like 190 or something. Absolute insanity. And of course, this is what the Dollar Vigilante is here for. I know I talk a lot about the Jews and about the COVIDs and about how they're trying to kill us all, and that's true. But along with that, we actually have a financial newsletter, which I haven't like completely talked about all that much. I haven't had Ed Bugos on in I think a couple of years. He's my partner at the Dollar Vigilante. He's also our senior analyst, and I was actually just going back at some of his old gold predictions, and I found one from 8 years ago. So that'd be like 2020. I'm so bad at math. 2018. I went to the government indoctrination camps. So yeah, 2018. We actually had a video out.
Yeah, just when it was breaking out, I was going to say sorry.
Yeah, and we had a video out saying that your prediction was gold to hit $5,000 in the next cycle, and we're in the next cycle, and it just hit $5,000. I know a lot of people said you were crazy back then. We're used to all that kind of stuff.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Dollar Vigilante interviews. I'm really excited. I've gotten on a person who essentially is a hermit, but he's an incredibly well-known and incredibly well-respected gold mining analyst. He's also an expert in Austrian economics. He's also my longtime partner at the Dollar Vigilante. It's Ed Bugos, TDV's the Dollar Vigilante's senior analyst.
I think what you're going to see here is that and it might take a few years to work out, I think we're going to have about a 4, 5, 6 year bull market, depending on how fast gold rises. But I think gold could easily reach $3,000, $4,000, maybe $5,000 in the next few years. And I know that people are going to look at that askew and maybe be skeptical of that. But you know, I faced the same skepticism when gold was at 300, and I told people it would go to 2,000, and it did.
But this is everything the Dollar Vigilante is all about. Our portfolio. Congratulations, Ed. Congratulations to all our subscribers. I see you smoking a cigar there. You're enjoying this. I actually haven't looked because I don't care, but we must be the top performing financial newsletter, at least in the last 6 months, with our gold, silver, gold stocks, Monero. Just incredible. And hardly anyone knows about us because we're so shadow banned everywhere. But so Ed, great to be back on with you. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you for that intro.
Yeah, well, you've been talking about this for a long time. This is what the Dollar Vigilante is all about, right? So I'm sure a lot of people are tuning in to see what's happening with the precious metals, where they're going to go to. Are they going to pull back now? What's actually happening? Is this the actual collapse of everything, the financial system? Because this is actually pretty insane. You must even be kind of shocked at how quickly these things are moving. Like, I think gold was up 5 or 10% yesterday. I think silver was close to that. Like, these are things, like gold was up, I think $700 yesterday. I remember buying gold coins at $700. So the price I paid for it about 15 years ago or so was how much it was up yesterday. So what do you have to say about this? This is like of course, a lot of the stuff you've been predicting, but even to see it moving this fast, what's your take on it?
Oh, it's insane. It's hard to, it's when it goes straight up like this, it's so hard to call. Like for the month of January, I think silver is up almost $50. And I thought about it the other day, and it's $50, a $50 gain in silver, when silver itself, just like maybe 6 months ago, was trading at $30. Right? So it's insane, these moves. They're breaking records. There's never been so many consecutive monthly gains in silver or gold in the charts as far back as they have been freely traded, anyways. And it's what's going on. I mean, there's so many things, but I think that the main driver of the gold and silver moves has been the march to war. Okay, I see every time, even starting back in 2023 when we had the Hamas red flag event. That's when
False
gold.
flag.
Yeah, right, and that's when I noticed right away gold started to really change character. The behavior of it started to change character. So if you look at back then, it's hard to make sense of it because, well, you can say, well, yeah, gold is up because of whatever's going on in Hamas, but we didn't see all the things that were going to come after that. But looking backwards, you can kind of think of it as a neocon revival of sorts, and the march to war, because
from Donald Trump, the peace president, right? The guy who said before this election he's going to bring all the troops home, he's going to cut the budget of everything. Then he put out the military budget of $1 trillion, and now he's like, no, make it 1.5 trillion, like it's nothing. Pretty incredible to watch.
Jeff, how do you have peace through strength? I mean,
you have to read 1984. It's all in that book.
Right? I just can't understand how somebody can think that by using such tactics as he does, even at home in Minnesota, in his own country, you militarize the police force and you send these thugs onto the streets with masks and machine guns and without any hardly any checks. They can just profile anybody and drag them out of the car, throw them in a detention cell. How do you have that and expect to get peace out of it? I mean, what kind of a process has to go on in your head to think that, I mean, yeah, I guess if you fantasize about like, all right, we're so strong and nobody's going to challenge us, and we're gonna lock down but you can't have freedom that way, right? I mean, freedom has always been freedom from the state, and that really means freedom from authoritarian bullshit, right? So I don't know how they manage to sleep with themselves at night. These people.
Yeah, I think it's a new world order out of chaos is what it is. They're trying to bring in their new world order here. But it's quite incredible because, we've been, as anarcho-capitalists, we always say the markets really dictate things. And you can't kind of like fool the markets. And actually, I want to play a little clip here I sent you yesterday from the Federal Reserve. Talking about, someone just asked him, gold and silver going up so much, what do you think of that? And here was his response.
Significant price increases we've seen for precious metals.
Don't take much message macroeconomically. The argument can be made that we're losing credibility or something. It's simply not the case. If you look at where inflation expectations are, our credibility is right where it needs to be. So we look at those things. We don't get spun up over particular asset price changes, although we do monitor them, of course.
Yeah, so he was just asking about gold and silver, and he's like, well, we're not losing credibility. It's like, no one asked you if you're losing credibility. That was an odd thing to say. And then as well, Ed, you've talked about this for years, about at some point, the Federal Reserve and central banks will try to lower interest rates, but the markets will not listen to them, and they'll actually go the opposite direction. We've been seeing that as well. So are we seeing just all of their stuff basically collapsing here right now?
Yeah, I think that they've been slowly losing control. You know, the rate hikes in 2022, that was an attempt for them to try to regain control, because, you know, they saw that the CPI inflation rate was heading towards the double-digit level, right? And not that I endorse that method of measuring inflation, but that's what they look at, and so they responded to that by doing what they were afraid to do in the 15 years before 2022. You know, from 2008 onwards, every time they tried to walk back the easy money policy, the markets would wobble, right? And then they were afraid, and then they abandoned it, and they went back to cutting rates and easy money. I mean, we saw that happen in 2019, 20. We saw it happen in even 2015. I remember when Janet Yellen was still in charge of the Fed, and she had, in 2015, she started talking about hiking rates, but then that turned into a 4-year painful process of getting from 0 to just 2%. So they were like literally afraid to pull that easy money policy for what would happen. But when the CPI shot up to 9% or whatever, then bond yields started to rise, right? And they only have that's the thing. They can't control all the interest rates in the system. There's so many different interest rates, right? They can control the interest rate on 3-month government treasury bills, maybe 1-year government treasury bills, maybe 5-10-year notes, a little bit, right? They could influence those, even though they buy them now directly. Ever since 2008, they've been able to buy. Before 2008, they weren't able to buy longer-term bonds, but now they've been able to buy them. But still, when you talk about cutting rates, when the market goes, wait a minute, there's no real pretext for it. You got stocks at record highs. You still got inflation, price inflation, even though it's come down in their eyes, it's still above their target, right? So you don't really have a good pretext, good case. I mean, unemployment is still low. You see cracks in the economy if you're looking closely, right? Most people probably don't, but I think if you're looking closely, you see cracks in the economy. And, you know, Trump is trying to make himself sound like he's way ahead of the curve, and we got to cut these rates and so on. But the market sees that the pretext is pretty weak for that. And I think the market also sees that the reason Trump really wants those rates to come down is because all of the debt they've been adding to in the last few years has been really short term, you know, and they've been rolling it over, hoping that those rates will come down, to answer to your original question, right? And so they haven't been able to bring those rates down because the market sees through it, right? And so instead, the market is selling off the dollar. And with the dollar selling off, and with price inflation still above target, with the tariff threats and the march to war, it's and the escalating spending requirements of this crazy machine. There's no way that they can get those long-term rates down without a market crash, right? So if they really want the long-term rate to come down, they've got to crash the stock market and end the boom, the economic boom.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a bit because I want to talk to you about your predictions for the stock market, but I want to keep on with the gold and silver because that is such a massive story. big congratulations to all the silver stackers out there who just hung in there for years and years. And I felt so bad for them, Ed, because we are also like, our portfolio is mostly actually precious metals. So we're just knocking it out of the park. But we also have crypto. And for years, the crypto was just, skyrocketing so often. Like I recommended Bitcoin at $3, Ethereum at $2. So, and I'd see people sometimes saying, oh, I didn't get any crypto, but I stacked a bunch of silver. And I'd always felt bad for them. But I always knew that they were going to have their day in the sun, and they actually have it right now, because the actual silver compared to Bitcoin is actually, Bitcoin's down versus silver from, I think, 2017. So 9 years ago, Bitcoin is actually down versus silver about 20% at the moment. So if you were to have bought silver and not Bitcoin in 2017, which, you would have actually done quite well in Bitcoin for a while, you actually would have been down as compared to silver. So congratulations to all the silver people out there. I'm so glad. And I know it for you, Ed, as well. Like, you're such, like, your email address, and not to dox you, but is like gold bug. You've been a gold bug for decades and decades, and a silver bug. I think you've said in the newsletter you actually have more silver than gold, which has done incredibly well lately as well. So you've been just into the precious metals for a long time, and it wasn't all that fun from 2011 when it hit its last peak to really a couple of years ago. It was pretty quiet, not really doing much. So I'm really actually happy. I actually said this before too, that at some point Peter Schill will be right. I said that, and I said, and he'll be even more obnoxious than usual. And that's, both of those things have come true. He's just like so obnoxious now. But I knew that was actually the case. And actually, Ed, in the Dollar Vigilante newsletter, you might recall that like last year, I said quite often that I thought the precious metal stocks might outperform crypto in the next year, and they massively did. And I should point out some of your incredible stock picks. And again, if you don't subscribe to the Dollar Vigilante newsletter, I don't know what you're doing. So here's Kamiko. Ed added that to the Dollar Vigilante portfolio in 2019 at $10. It's currently at $125, so that's gone up about 1,200%. He's also, even just in the last year, here's just a few of the stocks in the Dollar Vigilante portfolio. Generation, 400% up in the last year. DPM, 300%. Endeavor, 300%. Goldfields, 275%. Pan American Silver, 200%. So this has been incredible. And I know a lot of people must be thinking, especially if they haven't gotten into these things, is now the time to get in? That's really the big question. And I personally have a hard time answering that with people, because I bought probably the majority of my silver, my physical silver, between $5 and $25. And I bought most of my gold between $700 and about $1,900. So I'm actually doing well. I'm actually paying for my house now with my gold coins, which is kind of cool. But when I hear about people, they don't have these things, and they're not into the gold stocks, for example, and they've already gone up a lot. What do you say to people like that who are wondering if they've missed the boat, and what should they be doing here?
That's a really, really tough question, because, most people in this situation right now, they're just raising their targets. They're just saying, well, it's really just starting up. We're raising our targets. But a lot of these people are in there late as well, right? A lot of the people saying that have been later than me. I've been, as you know, I've been promoting gold since the very, very bottom at like $250 an ounce. I left the brokerage business over this story.
Yeah, just briefly, I'll just say the story briefly. So you were working at a brokerage in Canada in the tech bubble in the year 2000. And you were telling people not to buy the tech stocks at their peaks after they went down. Afterwards, they went down like 80 to 95%, a lot of them. And you were telling people to get into gold around $200, and the brokerage was so mad at you, they fired you. And then we ended up starting the Dollar Vigilante newsletter, and you've been kicking their ass. That's been awesome.
Yeah, a few years later, we started the Dollar Vigilante newsletter in 2009 or something, about 9 years after I started.
After the 2008 collapse, because for me personally, we were in an Austrian and economics chat room Austrian and Finance Economics chat room on Yahoo at the time. I don't even know if Yahoo even still exists, but there was like all the smartest people in Austrian economics were in there, and you were in there. And I remember seeing you all the time, and you were like the most like boisterous, and like you'd get into fights with everyone.
Financially literate, because most of the Austrian guys were very good at it at the academic side, but very few of them really understood the financial side of it.
Yeah, and you were pointing that out. So I was watching you because I was just trying to learn what Austrian economics even was. But most people in the group were saying that there was going to be that 2007, 2008 collapse in the stock market. And you were definitely one of them. So basically I took notes and I was like, if this happens, then I'll know that these guys know what they're talking about. And then it happened and I'm like, okay. And I was beginning to understand how it all worked too. This back in 2006. Or 7 or 8, yeah, around then. And once it happened, I said, okay, we got to tell people about this because no one knows about Austrian economics. Back then, 20 years ago, no one had a clue what it was. And I knew it was the best, sort of most intelligent way of looking at the markets. And once I saw that you guys were right, I was like, we have to start a financial newsletter. So I was like, well, who should I pick as my partner? Because I'm no expert on economics and finance and all those sort of things. And I looked at you in the chat group. I'm like, he's like the smartest guy in the room. And so I approached you, and then we started the Dollar Vigilante right after that in 2009 and really got it off the ground in 2010. But yeah, you've been into gold since $200. So you've been doing quite well.
Well, we should probably mention that, both of us together, if you look at we're 25 years into the 21st century, and the two of the top 3 investment themes are digital assets and the gold and silver case, right? And in fact, gold has outperformed, even just gold has outperformed the S&P most of the 25 years into the century so far. So it's not just been it's not just been now, right? But yeah, I mean, both of us were, you got into Bitcoin earlier than me. I got into gold a little bit earlier than you, but both of us pretty much at the ground floor levels of the 2 biggest, most successful investment themes of the century. Right?
Not bad. You might want to subscribe, dollarvigilante.com/subscribe.
The bankers didn't get it. The bankers didn't get it.
Oh, no, of course. No, they're not very smart. Yeah, it's pretty funny being over here on this corner of the internet. We're like banned and shadow banned, and a lot of people think we're crazy, and we just keep kicking their butts. I know you and I both enjoy doing that. But getting back to the gold and silver and the gold stocks in particular, I know that you think that the gold stocks and the silver stocks and things like that, maybe you can talk about that, about how it's difficult to even invest in silver stocks and things like that. But you think that we're at a point now where the juniors might actually do incredibly well over the next, and you can give the time frame here. And I know from past experience, I've invested in a couple of these sort of bull markets. I was quite into the last gold bull market, and then the gold stocks took off, and then the last ones to take off were the juniors. And these juniors can go up hundreds or thousands of %. They're like penny stocks. They're like lottery tickets, basically. So what's your take on that? I know you're thinking about releasing a few junior sort of picks in the newsletter fairly soon, and at the Dollar Vigilante Summit.
Yeah, I think we're at that point where the junior stocks are really going to do well, and I don't think that that's an original view. I think a lot of gold bugs and silver bugs believe that too. I mean, when you look at the metal prices, they've gone parabolic, right? They're in the straight up mode, and Jeff, from experience that straight up markets don't last. So where it's going to end, we don't know. It could go to 10,000. Silver could go to 200 in the next month, right? Silver is up $50 in 1 month, so who knows, right? But what we do know is when it does go parabolic, the time factor, the clock is ticking, right? It can't sustain at that rate. So either it's gonna, I've never seen a market go parabolic and then just go sideways for a while, right? Usually you get some sort of a some sort of a recoil or pushback or a correction of some magnitude, and usually it's bigger than people expect when it comes, right? So there will be a correction in all of these things, and the gold stocks will probably get hit too. But we're at such high levels in gold that even if gold came back to, say, 3,000 or 3,500, the miners would still be making a fuck of a ton of money, right? Because their costs are still a lot lower, and so my strategy has been to sell a little bit into this rally, but when the correction comes, let's say that I don't know, everybody's going to get down on me for saying that it's peaked already, but let's say that we get a correction here next month or the next few months, and the gold stocks fall 25-30%. I could see a year or two with gold trading between my previous targets of 3 and 5 or 4 and 5,500, or I think it hit 5,500 yesterday, gold yesterday anyways. So I could see the market kind of moving after a correction, consolidating and moving sideways for a year or two. But in that space, it reminds me of 2003 or 2004, I think it was, where gold went sideways and the gold stocks really went up, and especially the juniors. So with the producers, the market looks at them based on how much they earn or what cash flow they produce. With the juniors, because they are so far away from production, they're so far away from cash flow, 5-10 years sometimes. What matters is not the near-term price, but what matters is how well the stocks have done. So you get a trickle-down effect. Investors selling their Agnico Eagle is up tenfold over the last few years, and then looking for higher risk speculative plays, right? You get that, but also the psychologically, because of how high gold and silver prices have gone, people think, when they're thinking out, 5-10 years out now, all their modeling, say 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, their models for a junior mine might have had like a forecast for, $2,000 gold price, $2,500 gold price, going over a period of years, and then they discount those cash flows to get a value. Well, now they're going to be doing it at 4,000 or 5,000 gold, and so the value of these projects that the juniors are developing has increased whether or not gold and silver prices correct. But during the correction period, you're going to have correction in the stocks. But then after that, once the markets find their new levels, I expect to see a big boom in the junior stocks, for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. I'm looking forward to it because I know what the junior mining stock bull markets look like. I've been through a couple of them, and you can make absolute fortunes on them, especially if you pick the right stocks, obviously. And I should mention that at last year's Dollar Vigilante Summit at Acapulco, your entire presentation was on precious metal stocks, and you were incredibly bullish on them. And look at what they've done since then, right? So, up 400%, 300%, 300%. So for all the people, wondering if they should sign up for the next Dollar Vigilante Summit coming up in about 1 month or less than a month now in Puerto Vallarta, but you can also get it online. You'd be crazy not to. Our two biggest things that we really talked about at that event was mining stocks and privacy coins, and we saw the privacy coins go up tremendously in the last year. Monero just hit an all-time high just a few days ago, and then the mining stocks and the gold and silver have just gone incredible. So highly recommend, like you're kind of crazy. I think it's $150 or so, or $195 to get access to this. And just look at all the things we were right on last year. And we'll probably, we can't guarantee it, but we'll probably be right on a lot of things again this year. So go to tdvsummit.com. Make sure if you can't make it that you sign up for the virtual. If you can't, well, you should sign up to the newsletter. Just look at these returns. This is insane. And Ed's saying that he's going to be releasing some juniors soon, because now is the time to get into the junior stocks. And these actually have the potential to go up far more than anything else, even if the price of gold and silver don't keep going up, as Ed just pointed out. So sign up to our newsletter. You're crazy if you don't. Like, seriously, you're insane. Unless maybe you just don't like money, you don't want money, you don't need money. Cool. If you're Zen, you're just meditating, cool. But you're probably not watching this, at this point. But go to dollarvigilante.com/subscribe. And maybe we should talk a little bit about crypto, Ed, because just on this very day, as we're doing this talk, cryptos are down quite a bit. All of them, really. The Monero's done the best of most cryptos for the last few months, which has been excellent, because that's actually we basically have two big sort of holdings in the Dollar Vigilantes when it comes to crypto, and that's Bitcoin and Monero. And then if you want other stuff more than that, you go to the Crypto Vigilante, and they've got other things that they talk about, like Pirate Chain and all that, which has done really well this year as well. We should talk a little bit about the crypto. What's your take on what's going on with crypto? I find it very interesting that the cryptos are doing really poorly at the moment, and gold and silver are skyrocketing. What's your take on that?
I think what we saw is that, when in 2022, when we saw the bottom in Bitcoin, when we had, what was the name of that group that went defunct?
Yeah, I almost forget. Like, it seems like a million years ago. FTX, yeah.
Is it FTX?
When the Jewish guy.
So coming out of 2022, gold started to lead, right? And so Bitcoin started to follow gold. But in 2023, gold's rally started to become stealth. The stock market started to recover, because 2022 was a bad year for the stock market. And so Bitcoin and the stock market began to correlate, right? And so you had this correlation between the tech stocks and the crypto space. And because the Fed wasn't inflating money a lot, we never really got an alt cycle. The rally really only circulated around Bitcoin for the most part. Okay, and so I think the market stopped viewing it as an anti-dollar trade and started to view it as sort of like pro-Trump, pro-stock market kind of a trade. So it got caught up, I think, in that cycle a little bit, and I think that that's sort of still bothering it for now. Right now, I'm looking for that market to recouple with gold. But I also think that part of the reason, there's a couple of reasons that I think Bitcoin hasn't done well in the last year. One is because I think JP Morgan crushed it with its report on MSTR and how MSTR should be de-indexed. Because once you start talking about that, everybody's thinking, okay, that's going to kill the DAT plays, the digital asset treasury company plays, where they're trying to buy Bitcoin and it would boost their share price, right? So that bubble came to an end a little bit with the MSTR concerns, and I think that was sort of contrived by JP Morgan to get in on crypto, because they were one of the banks that were lagging the other banks in getting in on crypto, right? So they needed a good entry point. That's one thing. The other thing is that I think Trump's popularity is weighed on Bitcoin. It declined a lot. So and he was trying to make himself out to be the crypto king. The third thing I think that's weighing on Bitcoin is the is the stablecoin clarity bill, which is this argument between the banks and Coinbase, basically, where the banks, they don't want to be able to have stable coins pay interest on whatever they have in their portfolios, right? And so I think those things are weighing a little bit, but there's also, I think, another thing that's taken the wind out of Bitcoin's sails, if you will, and that is gold and silver. Though I think a lot of crypto guys have FOMO'd into gold and silver. So I think, that money, I think that will come back towards crypto. But I think for a real crypto bull market to grab hold and get any traction, you're going to need to have the Fed panic about whatever's going on and start reflating again. But I think even just the ending of the gold and silver parabolas might boost Bitcoin a bit again, but maybe not. There's I think the sentiment is very bearish in Bitcoin right now, and you're looking at the charts. The technical evidence is overwhelmingly bearish. There's very few cases where you can say, okay, but and I'm trying to make that case. I don't think that we're going to get a Bitcoin price sub 50K or anything like that, but we could. But I don't think we will. I think that market is that market. I think that bull is just playing dead right now a little bit. I think it'll come to life soon. Maybe as soon as the gold silver run is over, maybe a little bit longer. Maybe it has to be after the stock market crashes. I'm not entirely sure, to be honest, at this point. But
yeah, let's talk about the stock market crashing. That's obviously something you've been expecting for a while. It's still hanging in there. To me, it's hanging by a thread right now. And I think we will see some sort of a financial crisis, stock market collapse this year, in my opinion, and possibly very soon, especially with what's going on in Japan. That's looking crazy. Everything's looking pretty crazy right now. What's your take? Are we going to have a stock market crash sometime soon?
Yeah, I think so. Investors have been so conditioned to buy the dips. They've been so conditioned to believe that stock market declines can only be 20%. And under that kind of thinking, it's almost not worth it to sell, because you trigger a capital gains liability, and it's like, well, why would I sell and then hope to buy the bottom, which I might not be able to get, I might miss that, and then trigger a tax liability and end up being bucked off of my position, right? I think that's the mentality of almost everybody in the stock market right now. But one fundamental thing, aside from the Fed cycle, aside from the liquidity cycle and interest rates and so forth, one thing I think that a lot of people are missing in the stock market is that I remember in the 90s, one of the reasons the stock market performed so well was because the boomer generation was just approaching that time in their life when they had to save, right? So there was a demographic bubble that was entering into the stock market. Well, this demographic is now at retirement age, right? And we can see how difficult it is, how difficult the affordability crisis, if you want to put a label on it, has made living for people, right? For the average person anyways, unless you're, really, really wealthy. If you're like a Trump, you don't even notice, right? But I think most people have had some difficulty in meeting their bills in the last few years. And with this boomer generation hitting retirement, well, they're going to start to draw down their stock funds. And maybe they're trying to wait. Maybe they're being patient. But as soon as a bear market starts, and 80% of investors in this market are too young to remember a bear market, too young to probably even remember 2008, let alone bear markets before that. So I think that what will happen is you'll get a worse than normal bear market, despite everybody's going to say, well, yeah, but the Fed's going to just inflate. Well, the Fed inflates at the beginning of every bear market historically too, right? It doesn't always catch traction right away. And often when the Fed inflates, that's, often that's also a sell signal, because investors go, wait a minute, why is the Fed inflating? Are we headed for trouble? So they sell stocks, So I could see a scenario where even if the market hangs in there for another few months, and Trump puts in his guy at the Fed, and the guy starts to cut rates, I could see that catalyzing a bear market, right? And so with that in mind, if we get a bear market that's 2 or 3 years long, I could see the boomers start panicking towards the end of the bear market, and just when you think the bear market's over, you got all these guys that are trying to plan for their retirement. Are these not just guys and girls, I guess, trying to plan for their retirement?
And trannies.
They're going to be selling at the bottom, right? So that's how I see things unfolding. That process could take us another 3 years to the end of this decade before the bottom in the stock market occurs. And I don't think that anybody in the stock market would believe that scenario right now. I think everybody thinks, okay, all right, fine, Ed, we'll get a 20% correction, but it's just not worth it for me to sell that. And if it does, well, I'll sell a little bit here, but then I'll buy that dip. But I think that'll be a big mistake this time. I think we're just approaching the end of a record long bull market in stocks. It's not had more than a 20% correction, I don't think, since 2008.
Yeah, it's incredible. Just your point that most people aren't old enough to remember the last one. It's amazing. And then to think that gold's actually outperformed the stock market is pretty cool as well. So that's also been a long-term great investment as well. But with your thinking that the markets are going to have some sort of crash or collapse here fairly soon, for people out there who are thinking, like, for example, okay, I missed a lot of the gold and silver bull market. I would suggest that you get into the TDV Summit coming up and the Dollar Vigilante newsletter and get onto these junior stocks that Ed has in his portfolio right now, and he's going to be introducing a few more. Those are possible massive gainers. So that's one way to still profit from this. And another huge one, and this is my favorite one, Ed, I absolutely love profiting from shorting basically the system, the stock market, Wall Street. Like nothing makes me happier. Lots of things make me happier actually, but I'm talking about financially. Like obviously my son and my dogs and all that. Yeah, but next level down when you talk about financial stuff, nothing makes me happier. Like I've been making so much on, I recommended Bitcoin at $3. I didn't buy it at $3 unfortunately, but I was buying, around 300 to 1,000 and stuff like that. So I did pretty good. Ethereum, I actually didn't buy any when I recommended it at $2. So I'm actually usually so busy. I just tell people these things and I'm so busy I don't even buy them myself. But I have a fair amount of gold and silver, so I've done really well with that. But nothing makes me happier than actually shorting the system. And that I see the system as the stock market itself. And everything that's in there, it's all Wall Street, it's all BlackRock, it's all Vanguard, it's all these things. And we think that's going to be happening quite soon. So, but what I found out is most people, they don't even know what the word short means. There's probably people watching right now. He's like, what's he talking about, short? See, that's the thing. The whole system hasn't told you there's two ways to make money. One when it goes up and the other when it goes down. And most people just don't even know how to do that. So Ed, I'm so glad that you actually wrote like a free report, because this is like how you can make fortunes in the next couple of years, is shorting basically the system. And what a more beautiful thing to do. But most people don't know how to do it. And it's also, you know, there's some risk. There's some things you need to know about it. You don't want to get overly leveraged. And if you don't know how to do that, you need to basically get Ed's free report. He wrote a free report on this called Short Selling 101. And you won't get any of this from Wall Street. Wall Street will never tell you this. This is how you can potentially make absolute fortunes in the next year or two. And how many times have I said that and been right? Bitcoin, Ethereum, gold, silver. You know, so are you listening now? Knock, 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 knock. So it's free. It's a free report just to get you to understand, because a lot of people just don't know how to do it. They've never been told. Their brokerage never tells them much about it. The mainstream media will never tell you about it. So anyway, just go to dollarvigilante.com/short101. Make sure you get the free report. And that's just the starter, of course, like just to get you to understand how it all works. And then if you feel comfortable, sign up to the newsletter and follow Ed Bugos' everything he says in there. And he's on top of the markets all the time. And when he says to, like, you know, get loaded up on shorts and stuff like that, you'll know how to do it at that time. So definitely go again. I'll say it again. Like, I keep saying these things and hardly anyone listens. I don't know why. dollarvigilante.com/short101. Learn the basics of short selling and then sign up to our newsletter, which is like $25 a month. It's like a Frappuccino and a muffin at Starbucks, which you probably should avoid, and actually just get our newsletter. And you could potentially make fortunes. Like everything we've been talking about in this video so far is how we've made our subscribers fortunes time and time and time again. You can do it again. So make sure you do that. And also, big one, sign up to the TDV Summit coming up in less than a month on February 22nd or 21st, I believe it is. Last year, everything we said went up massively. So what are you doing? And it's $195. And you know, one of the beautiful things about the summit, Ed, because we do different ways of doing different things. We've got the Vigilante Insiders Club where we're talking to people, like, you know, in real time, which is cool. We might open that up again soon, just FYI. But we also have the newsletter, but that's a little bit more, it's tough to really relay things to people on like a human level. So there's nothing like the TDV Summit where we're actually there talking on stage or on Zoom or whatever it is. It depends on the different speakers and all that sort of a thing. But to actually have that actual hearing it from the horse's mouth, not reading it, actually makes quite a bit of a difference as well. So go to tdvsummit.com. Barely costs anything, $195. That's like nothing. You can get access to all that stuff. So yeah, we got incredible times ahead. What an incredible, actually since the beginning of the Dollar Vigilante, it's been an incredible ride. Like, you know, we were one of our biggest questions when we started the Dollar Vigilante was you know, when the dollar collapses, what's going to take its place? But we started in 2010, and we didn't know about Bitcoin, which started in 2009. But by 2011, 2012, 2013, we were figuring out Bitcoin, and then we found out about Monero, which actually maybe we should just mention for a second because you didn't talk much about that. But we actually posed the question, people asked us the question, and actually my answer back then, Ed, was I don't know what it's going to be, but I'm sure the market will come up with something. And then it came up with Monero, which has just hit an all-time high a couple days ago. It's pulled back. What's your thoughts on Monero? I know you're a huge Monero bug as well.
I love it. I absolutely love Monero. I think, you know, I've been buying every dip, you know, down. I've stopped buying in the last year as it's been going up, but in previous years, whenever it sold off down to the low 100 level, I couldn't help buying, and I noticed that those sell-offs ended quite abruptly, and then it just stabilized. And to me, it was just, you know, with the thing getting delisted from centralized exchanges, you know, it made sense that people would just you know, offload it as time went on. But I think since then, the structure of that market has been really cleaned up, where, you know, all the speculators, all the weak hands, they're gone, and all that's left are the strong hands that have been accumulating this thing forever. And I think that's part of the reason it broke out here. I mean, a little bit of the reason is because of the revival of the idea of privacy, which is why Zcash went up too, and a couple of other coins. But I think that Monero's market structure it really developed a strong, really good bottom. So I'm comfortable buying every dip on Monero until I see something north of 5 or 10,000. I mean, I might sell a little bit on, I sold a little bit up at 700 or 800, just because it went up too far, too fast. And when I do that, it's sort of like, okay, I sell some, because I'm a bit of a trader. I like to, charts are, when you follow the charts, you can get caught in this scenario of buying breakouts, and as you know, breakouts whiplash a lot. And often I've found that that the best time to buy it is just when, even when the chart doesn't look that great, when it's been knocked back a lot, because I really believe in the fundamental story. And the fundamentals on Monero is not just how great the privacy tech is, because you could always make a better coin, a better privacy coin, like Pirate is conceptually a better tech design than Monero, I believe. And there may be in the future a better privacy coin than either of those. You don't know. But one of the fundamentals that I like about Monero is that people are using it to buy stuff. There's a huge merchant following. There's a lot of buying and selling in the real economy using this thing. So behind Bitcoin, it probably has the second or maybe the third, probably the second highest transaction rate or number of transactions utilized in the space, I think. So yeah, I'm a bull, and it's if you enjoy your privacy, if you think privacy is important, and if you're thinking in terms of long term, what's going to be a challenge to the dollar, Bitcoin is a challenge to the dollar, because it's not hard to be a challenge to a piece of shit fiat currency. But and I think Bitcoin functionally is better than gold. I mean, gold was the gold dealers were probably one of the first merchants to accept Bitcoin in exchange for their goods. But the amount Bitcoin has a lot more. There's a lot more practicality for using Bitcoin in the transaction world, even though it's compromised, as Raphael and others think. There's still a lot more opportunity for in actual transactions made in Bitcoin than in gold, right? So in terms of which is more of an asset, gold is still more of an asset. Bitcoin is more of a medium of exchange than gold is at the moment. But in any case, gold has obviously got a long record of establishment and has the market's confidence for the most part. But anyway, so a lot of people might not be too concerned about the fact that Bitcoin is not private. In fact, it's probably for a lot of companies who just want to have. If you have $1 billion in cash, you don't want to put it all in the bank. You should have some in gold. You should have some in the cryptocurrency space, right? And if it's transparent, if you're on a transparent blockchain, shouldn't matter to you, as for most, unless I don't think, maybe some corporations have reason to want to hide their transactions. Maybe they don't want to reveal their supply chain, to everybody. But a lot of companies probably wouldn't care. So there's a good case for a lot of companies to have a store of their cash balances in Bitcoin, which we see happening in that DAT mini mania that we've seen, where companies are trying to acquire Bitcoin to make their share price go up. But the reasoning they're doing that is a little bit wrong today. But in the long term, I still see that as a valid thing. But However, as you know, the because it's transparent, if you there's the chance that you might receive a Bitcoin that has been funneled through some terrorist group or some blacklisted group, and then all of a sudden you're stuck with Bitcoin that you can't use, right? So that's a real risk, and Monero deals with that because Monero's coins are since they're privacy by default, they're fungible. So every coin is exactly like the other as far as the user is concerned, or the acceptor is concerned. So I think that Monero has a real good chance. It has some things I think it should solve, like it takes a little while to sync and so forth, but to sync the network when you're accessing your wallet and stuff. And but there's already solutions to that. There's light wallets and so forth. I think that, sorry for the long answer, but I think Bitcoin already challenges the dollar, but Monero could really uproot it, is what I'm getting at.
Very cool, and very interesting to hear that you're not selling much Monero until it hits 5,000 or 10,000. Just in case anyone doesn't know, it's under $500 right now, so that'd be at least a 10 or 20 times rise. And you've done it so many times.
That's another crazy target nobody believes today.
Yeah. And like we're going to look back into this in a few years and we're going to do a video. It's like, remember when Ed said Monero is going to hit $10,000? It just did today. Why didn't you sign up to our stuff? DollarVigilante.com/subscribe. TDVSummit.com. We're trying to help you guys out. But I don't know. A lot of people don't listen. Actually, I should mention that the reason we're doing this video partly is Ed contacted me about a week or two ago. He's like, Jeff, we're the best financial newsletter in the world. Why aren't we marketing it? And I was like, oh, I've just been so busy telling people about how to survive the apocalypse. And I was like, yeah, you're right. We are the best. And so I want to let everyone know we're actually going to hire a marketing person. we're 16 years into the newsletter. We're like, yeah, maybe we should get a marketing person just to help us market the newsletter. We actually have a job posting up just so everyone knows. So if you're a marketing guy and I'd like a really good one, dollarvigilante.com/marketing. And we're looking for someone who really knows our newsletters, just FYI. So if you're a subscriber, but you're also a really, really top level marketing person, feel free to contact us. We're thinking about marketing the newsletter after 16 years and featuring Bitcoin at $3, Ethereum at $2. Your Kamiko there is up 1,000 something percent. Most of your stocks are up 300 or 400% this year. Monero, we've been featuring for a long time, all-time highs. So yeah, we thought we might market it. Ed, anything else you wanted to say?
I have a few stocks that are up almost 1,000% if you go back to 2018, 2019.
Oh yeah, no, I know. Yeah, no, we've had so many.
So just one more thing I'd like to say is, so regarding the shorts, just so people know, the way that I approach this is I recommend, that people don't just go all in on one thing. Okay. So, we have a diversified approach, and we don't over diversify. I don't like over diversifying, but we have a fairly diversified approach where 20% of where we recommend, or where what I do for my portfolio, and then what I tell people that I do, and if they want to follow, they can follow. If they don't want to follow, they don't want to follow. That's fine. But where I'm at is that I have 20% invested in the metals at the moment, down from 30% at the earlier when we went into this year. So I've reduced that. I've got 20% invested in the gold stocks, down from 30% as well. So 20%, then 20% in crypto, then 20% in cash, and then 20% in the shorts. Right? So I feel that way that at these prices of gold and silver and everything considered, that's the ideal sort of allocation situation, so that if the stock market crashes and it takes these other things down, at least 20% of your portfolio might double, right? And then with that, with your cash, you might have 50% of your, all of a sudden you might find 50%, after the market has crashed, you might find that you have 50% of your portfolio or your allocation in cash, and you're ready to buy a crashed market, right? So I think that's how I've designed the strategy. I don't know if it'll quite work that way, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, most people kind of do the opposite. They buy high and then just hold on to it till the bottom, then they sell it. So sign up to our newsletter, and again, free report. If you want to learn how to short and make money from the markets going down, which hardly anyone does, and I got to tell you again, it's the best feeling in the world, because you see everyone on the internet and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so unhappy. I just lost all this. I just lost all that. And you're sitting there going, I just made like a fortune. I know I'm a spiritual guy and we're all one and all that kind of stuff, but inside the video game, it's fun to like see everyone just get wiped out. I don't want that to happen to them, by the way. I want them all to be Dollar Vigilante subscribers. I want them all to flourish. But since they're not and they're stupid,
it's kind of like, well, I understand the feeling. It's like all these non-believers, and then it happens. Say, see, you should have believed.
Yeah, it's great. So go to dollarvigilante.com/short101, learn how to short, then sign up to the newsletter. And Ed's always updating there. He sends out alerts all the time to the premium newsletter subscribers on when he thinks you should be buying, selling, all that kind of stuff. And then get at the TDV Summit coming up in Acapulco. So I think we'll leave it there, Ed. Any last words?
Yeah, just on the Vigilante Insiders Club, the VIC, in there, myself and Jeff and other analysts give you our views of things real time, like, day to day, right? Every day, right?
Hour to hour.
Right, hour to hour sometimes.
Yeah, that's not open right now, but we might reopen it. We have a few slots still available that we could open it again. We might open it maybe after Acapulco, I'm not sure, so stay tuned for that. You couldn't pick a better year to be in the Vigilante Insiders Club, where you're getting the real-time stuff. So as things are like collapsing or going crazy, we're there because that's what we do. But anyway, so yeah, there you go. And like I said, TDV Summit coming up February 21st at Acapulco.
Freedom in the breeze, oceans hymn, no chains, no pleas, no rulers, no kings, no scripts to recite. Burn the old book, let the phoenix ignite. Rebirth on the sand, where the rebels convene. A Genesis scene, mind sharp and keen. Dollars to dust, trust in the soul. And Acapulco, where we break the mold. And Acapulco, where the spirit flies. New dawn, breaking under open skies. No masters, no limits, no chains to choke. This is freedom's fire, and Acapulco spoke. Acapulco, where the spirit flies. New dawn, breaking under open skies. No masters, no limits, no chains to choke. This is freedom's fire, and Acapulco spoke. Beach bonfire starts spark like flint. Ideas ricochet, no permission, no stint. Borders dissolve, minds expand. Every soul sovereign, every mind grand. No contract signed, just a handshake truth. Ancient wisdom reborn in the fountain of youth. Rules crumble like castles at high tide. Revolution lives where the dreamers reside. Golden horizon, the birth of the free. Echoes of laughter, the waves decree. Freedom is anthem, a beat in the chest. And Acapulco, where the restless rest. And Acapulco, where the spirit flies. New dawn, breaking under open skies. No masters, no limits, no chains to choke. This is freedom's fight, and Acapulco spoke. And Acapulco, where the spirit flies. New dawn, breaking under open skies. No masters, no limits, no chains to choke. This is freedom's fight, and Acapulco spoke.
With performing artist IMA.
I don't need a muse or anything to do. Probably just get canceled 'cause I'm saying about the truth. Feels like we're getting wiser, don't choose. Since the lies that they blew up, now nobody trusts the news.
An Acapulco opening party on February 15th Anarchapulco Genesis, February 16th to 20th. The Dollar Vigilante TDV Summit, February 21st. The Crypto Vigilante TCV Summit, February 22nd. Agoraforco, retreats, and other excursions, February 21st to 27th. Bufo and other plant medicines with Bearheart throughout the event. A special Iboga ceremony with Christoph Melchizedek from February 23rd. 2 Tesla plasma healing devices will be running throughout the event. Thanks to the Tesla Club. Bring the whole family. The Anarchapulco Family Camp runs throughout the event with activities for non-lethally injected, free-range, unschooled pure souls. Anarchapulco 2026. Genesis. Porto Vallarta,